Louisiana grown and Louisiana proud. We get to know your favorite stars, from musicians and athletes to business owners and artists. Restoral Dental presents Homegrown, a KLFY Plus exclusive.
Welcome back to Homegrown. I'm your host, Lydia Alcala. We get to know your favorite local celebs, if you will, here on Homegrown. Today, I figured it was time that we get to know another one of News 10's very own. So we have Chief Meteorologist Heath Morton in the room with us. Heath, how's it going?
No, thanks for having me, Lydia. I appreciate it.
I know, I'm glad to have you here.
It's an honor.
You're another one where I don't know if you've ever been serious for 30 minutes straight before.
I don't think I have.
My last guest was like that. I know him personally, and he's not a serious guy. You're also not, but I think a lot of people don't realize that because they just see the Heath
Exactly.
on the weather wall.
Right.
So we're going to get to know you a little bit
Oh,
too.
boy. I don't know if you want to get to know me. No, just kidding.
Well, so let's start from the beginning. Like I told you, we're going to kind of go in chronological order. As we can tell from the accent, you are not from Louisiana.
Right.
You are
No.
from Alabama.
Right. North Alabama, Boaz, Alabama, small town, 8,000 people. And when I went to college at Mississippi State, I'll get to that a little bit later, my professor said, you'll never get a job in television because your accent is too bad. Like, I almost finished college, done all the math, all the hard stuff. Here I am with an accent. I can't do what I want to do because I talk like I'm from the South.
Yeah.
And I got turned down from a job from Lake Charles, other places in the South. I think this is the South.
Yeah.
What does it matter?
A lot of people talk like that.
Right. But what's weird is like it has really helped me. A lot of people like it, and I've gotten a lot of compliments on that. So it's been more endearing than anything.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot easier, obviously, for a meteorologist to get away with that, and it makes you seem more human, I
Right.
think, probably on air. So, obviously, your professor was wrong because you've been doing this for how many years now?
Oh boy.
A lot.
Reveal my age. 26 years, will be 27 in March.
Oh, you actually just told me the date you started. Fun fact about Heath, he remembers a lot of weird dates. He remembers what he was wearing the first day that he was ever on air for his job, but it was a couple months after I was born.
Well, thanks, Lydia. I appreciate that.
I love to bring that up.
Now I feel really old. Yeah, it was February, March of 1999.
Yeah.
Columbus, Georgia was my first job. I was so scared the first day I wanted to run out the door. I said, I can't do this because I'm a shy person. And I said, I cannot get in front of that camera. But I did it. I've been doing it for 26
Yeah.
years, almost
There you
27.
are. Chief
Yeah.
meteorologist. There you go. Love it. So take us back to Alabama, growing up. Tell us about your family.
My dad was a high school football coach, and my mom worked as an office secretary at an elementary school. And so I grew up around sports, played sports my whole life. He coached football, baseball, and basketball. So I always had a ball in my hand playing, and I played for him in high school. He actually coached me or taught me in high school too. I had him for a few classes in high school, it wasn't as easy.
Interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got in a lot of trouble. But anyway, and he went on to be a principal, high school principal, then elementary school principal.
Okay.
And he retired about, I don't know, 13 years ago. My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, who's 6'5", who looks, a lot, not older, but we're growing up, everybody thought he's older than me. He's always really tall.
Yeah.
He's a realtor back home. So I have just one brother. And mom and dad, they live on this farm, all of them going home and spending time on the farm. So growing up, I really had a passion for weather from like I was 3 years old. I don't remember exactly when it happened. Some meteorologist, an event happened that made them get an interest in meteorology, a tornado or something, or they were scared of it. For me, it was back so long ago, I don't remember. My brother or my dad, my grandmother used to talk about weather, and I think that's where it started.
Yeah.
But I would stand outside 6, 7 years old during thunderstorms.
And just watch.
Just watch. I was amazed. And my grandmother said she didn't think I would live to be 16 because she thought I'd be struck by lightning.
Yeah.
No kidding. So everybody thought I was a little weird, because I had this weird fascination with weather. And everybody's like, it'll pass. It'll pass. We never did.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't want to do television. That was not I didn't want to be on TV. But I got to Mississippi State and decided that I would give it a shot. And here I am. But it was a passion that started from a very early age. I was obsessed with severe weather, tornadoes. I didn't like sunny days. I hated when it was sunny. I wanted the bad stuff.
We are not the same.
I know. Well, now I want sunny weather. I hate severe weather and stuff now. Like,
Well, yeah, because that means we have to, be here for longer. Usually the meteorologists are the ones when we have wall-to-wall coverage, y'all are, like, nonstop, not getting a break, essentially. Yeah, and that's gotta be tough.
it's stressful, and now with social media, it's totally different. And back when I started, back in the dark ages of television, um, all we had was a telephone. The internet had just come out. We didn't have social media. We didn't have all this stuff. So, and now you have to keep up with all that. It's a lot more work. It's a blessing and a curse because you have a lot more resources, but it's also like a lot, and you have to deal with the criticism a lot more. You see a lot more of it. Used to think people would have to, call in
Uh-huh.
or write it,
Right, yeah,
handwrite.
write
I
a
got
letter.
handwritten letters when I worked in Columbus, Georgia, handwritten.
I do not doubt it because, I mean, the emails that we get sometimes I have gotten, like, a couple of,
Yeah.
handwritten letters too, but and also phone calls. I mean, some people are just not afraid to express their opinions, good or bad.
Not at all. Exactly. It's scary, what some people, but I've never had anybody, in public, in person,
Yeah.
to bash me. It's always
Yeah.
through social media.
Oh, well, no, they would never do it in person. They're too scared. They're gonna hide behind, the pen and paper or the email or whatever it is, but all right, so our Alabama guy over here made his way to Louisiana. We'll get to know Heath a little bit more after this break. You guys don't go anywhere.
Homegrown is sponsored by Restoral Dental, making the best dentures in Lafayette. Restoral Dental.
Welcome back. Sitting down with Chief Meteorologist Heath Morton today. Heath, we're glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
So we talked a little bit about your upbringing. You're from Alabama. You started your career in Georgia, eventually made your way to Louisiana. But before we get into kind of how you ended up here, we want to talk about your college days because you told me some really cool stories about
Yeah.
storm chasing, and I don't think that happens anymore for college students.
No, it's totally different now. Back when Twister came out in the fall of '96, the movie Twister, I went to see it, and that was the spring of '96. That was the spring before I went to Mississippi State.
Okay.
So that movie was huge. And when I got to Mississippi State, they had a meeting, people that want to go storm chasing in the meteorology department. Well, there were people from outside the department. A lot of people showed up because of the movie Twister. They saw the movie. And I always wanted to storm chase. I always thought I was a weird kid. One time I was in the backyard and there was a tornado warning and the neighbors yelling at me, "There's a tornado warning, Heath." I'm like, "I know, ain't it great?" I was excited, and people just thought I was a little off because I liked severe weather, and I did too. I get at Mississippi State, and there are people like me there that love chasing and tornadoes. So, well, maybe I wasn't that crazy.
No,
or weird.
you know what? And
Yeah.
every kid has like something that other
Right.
people might consider weird. Growing up, well, honestly, I still am. Outer space was like my thing.
yeah.
Like, absolutely love it. I think it's like so fascinating. So, storm chasing was your thing. Go and sit outside with a tornado. That's your thing.
It was. It was my thing. I loved it. And when I got to Mississippi State, I got to storm chase there in Mississippi. I got to be the storm chase leader my first year there. And then in the spring, a professor would take us out to storm chase for 2 weeks. We would camp out. It was an exhausting trip, but we'd camp out at night, chase all day. We may drive 500 miles a day. So back then, you had internet, but you had to do a dial up, like on a cell phone. It took 45 minutes to download one computer model. Now everything is instant. So we had to look at everything the morning before, go out and try to find a target area where it may happen, and then sit there and wait for the storms to blow up. You may sit there on the side of the road throwing rocks all day with nothing. Seeing a tornado was the icing on the cake. So my professor was very gifted in severe weather forecasting. Like he put us on the first tornado I ever saw. We saw 2 in one day, and he knew where it was going to happen. Everything. He was a genius when it came to severe weather, and that's kind of where my forte is forecasting severe weather. So we were out there for 12 days. Hadn't seen a tornado. The very last day, we see a tornado near Chickasha, Oklahoma. Then another one 45 miles from there. One of them blew over a train. Luckily, no injuries. But so a lot of it's just to see storm structure, what a storm looks like up close.
Yeah.
To see the tornadoes, the icing on the cake, because you may go out there for several trips and never see a tornado. It's really hard to see a tornado. And it's amazing that I went 2 years in a row. The second year, I didn't see one. And then after I graduated college, I would use my vacation to go storm chasing. Me and a friend of mine, I would get my tax money from the end of the year and use that, and we would go storm chase, drive all over the Great Plains. And it really, storm chasing was why we went, but just being out there with friends and out in the middle of nowhere, you felt like you were away from all your troubles.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And funny story is, like I said earlier, now we have internet where you can look at your phone and see radar, all the computer models instantly. Back then, like I said, you had to look at it at a hotel the morning before or of, and then go pick your spot.
Yeah, and just hope that you have the right spot.
Hope we're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Well, one time we needed a radar update. So we pull in this library in middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. And my friend, we go in, he gets a library card just to get access to their computer so we could see radar. Because they wouldn't let you use their computers unless you had a library card.
Yeah.
So he signed up for a library card just so we could look at radar. You know,
I wonder if he still has that library card in random town in Oklahoma.
I need to ask him. But yeah, I mean, and now, I mean, everything's on your phone. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we went to Texas Tech one time to their library to get access to computer models and stuff because, you know, we needed to look at data. And, you know, and we saw an F4 in Nebraska that year.
What's the highest?
F5. F5. Back then
wow.
it was on the F4. It wasn't the enhanced scale. It was F4. And, you know, we looked where we were going to be. We went to a spot, saw the clouds developing. We sat there until it formed, went from sunny to an F4 tornado. So
Doesn't that happen quickly, too?
yeah, it can. It can happen within 30, 45 minutes.
Wow.
So, you know, I know it sounds crazy to chase tornadoes, but a lot of it's research. Like I did it, like it makes my forecasting skills better. You know, to see how they develop, you know, what makes them develop. You know, and back to the college days, it's dangerous too. We were camping out and we might got robbed a few times. People come up to you and we broke down on the side of the road. Their van, the university van transmission went out on it. And that was crazy. And then
for some good stories.
we were in Oklahoma one time staying at this park and there was a drug raid. It was a Memorial Day weekend. There was a drug raid. I kid you not. While we were there, the cops come in and they arrest all these people while we're in
Oh my goodness.
So we had to leave there and go. It was not just chasing tornadoes, but just, you know, all this other stuff going on. And one of the most dangerous things about chasing is traveling more than tornadoes because you travel hundreds of miles a day. Yeah. You know, and then if you're in a storm, you have to worry about hydroplaning and all that. So the traveling is the worst. And there's only been a few people who have actually been killed by tornadoes, chasers.
Really?
Yeah, Tim Morales, I can't think of his last name. But I saw him at a conference one time, and we were talking about chasing. He said, you know, the most dangerous thing is the traveling. And we talked about that. And he was actually killed by the El Reno tornado in 2013. His son, and a photographer, it lifted them up. I mean, it was, this tornado got real wide. Yeah. And it got to like 2 or 3 miles wide. And ironically, I talked to him about how dangerous traveling is. And that's the most dangerous thing. And he was actually killed by a tornado, which
that's crazy.
It's ironically, but I mean, and you have a lot of thrill seekers out there doing it now, but a lot of the true meteorologists, the scientists, are doing it for research.
Research, right.
Yeah. I mean, and so it's, and you see the movie Twister, and some of that's pretty true.
I mean, because they are out there doing research, because I think the whole point of it, is to figure out how to like diffuse a tornado, and so they're kind of like figuring out how it forms and how they can potentially diffuse it. So it does seem like it would be interesting. I think I would be terrified. I do not want to chase any storms, but you have fun. We'll chat more with Heath Morton right after the break. Welcome back to Homegrown. Today's guest, Chief Meteorologist Heath Morton here at TV10. Heath, we were talking about your storm chasing days. You have some really cool stories. I wish we had time to hear all of them.
I've got more, but we don't have time.
I know. But we want to hear how you ended up here.
how I ended up here.
You've been here for a while, but
Yeah.
how did you make it to Lafayette, Louisiana?
I'll be brutally honest with you. With the way the TV business works, it can be brutal sometimes. So I left Columbus, Georgia, and I was there 5 years. And I went to Huntsville, Alabama, which is the market where everybody could watch me. My parents, family. It was my home market. It was a goal to get there. I did weekend meteorology. I was a weekend meteorologist there. And then I was there 3 years. My contract came up. We had 4 meteorologists. They had to get rid of one whose contract was coming up, mine. Oh. So they let me know that, we're not going to renew your contract, but we'll let you stay 6 months. My wife and I were out looking for houses. This is where we wanted to stay. Yeah. So I started looking for a job. And there was this site called tvjobs.com where you go and it tells you what's available. And I saw one for Lafayette, Louisiana. And I was like, I'll apply for that. It's a morning job.
Had you been here before ever?
I'd never been here before. I'd been in northern Louisiana and New Orleans, but not this far west, in southwest Louisiana. So I applied for it, and Ryan Burchett was the chief at the time, and he called me a few days later and said, we want you to come in for an interview. And so I came in, and he told me, he said, they're going to offer you the job. My wife said, yeah, we can stay for 2 years, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, it's a 2-year contract. Yeah. Well, what is this, 25, 18 and a half years later.
Still here. So
I came and fell in love with the culture, the food, the people were really friendly. But the accents was like back home, we would say your car payment. So we were applying to buy a house, and the lady said, what is your car note? And we never heard a car note. We thought she said corn oats. Like, what are you talking about, corn oats? It was a car note. That's the way she said it. And we always said car payment. So we're like, we had to get used to the language. Now it's easy. I recognize it, and I love it. But, the whole culture is really nice. And I went to Mississippi State, plus I'm an Alabama fan. My wife's an Auburn fan. My daughter now is an LSU fan. So it's rubbed off. It's rubbed off on her.
Annie, there you go, making her a Tiger.
Gosh, she's a Tiger fan now.
Love it.
So I did mornings for 8 years and did a lot of funny stuff and just crazy stuff on that. And then I became chief in 2015 on the evenings ever since. Which I'm a night owl, so I'm better. I like the evening shift better. Yeah. But I miss the fun of POS and the creativity of doing funny stuff and making people laugh. And I can still make people laugh on the evenings, but the mornings it was it was
more laid back a little bit.
Right. Not as many boundaries. Yeah. So still here, and I love it down here. And one reason I didn't really want to move here is they don't see snow.
Well, last year.
Well, the
blizzard.
Second biggest snow I ever saw this past year.
Happened to be in Lafayette, Louisiana.
I never thought I would ever see the day.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm
insane.
not a cold weather person, but I thought it was so fun.
It was.
It was a bummer that, nobody could drive anywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of stuck at home for a while.
Yeah.
And my pipes froze. I, couldn't flush through. I had to fill up. I had to melt ice from outside, fill up the back of my toilet so I could flush it because the pipes were frozen.
Insane.
Yeah, it was a mess.
I didn't think
it was kind of fun.
It was fun. I'm a huge snow fan. Growing up, that was my love.
Yeah.
Weatherman missed a snow forecast, I'd get mad. So I was like, man, we're not going to see snow. Well, it's snowed several times since I've been here.
Yeah.
And one big one.
It has. Back to the lingo real quick, because I want to know your take on this, because I'm from Pensacola, Florida. Mm-hmm. So when I moved here, I also heard different things that I was like, oh, I've never heard that before. How do you feel about saving the dishes or saving the clothes?
I've never heard that before in my life.
Me either. I think that is the strangest thing.
I've never.
Why are we saving them?
I don't. Yeah, right.
Saving them from what? I'm so sorry. No offense.
That's one I've never heard in my life until I moved here. When I heard it, I'm like, what?
It's definitely a South Louisiana thing.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah.
No, I've never heard that.
And also smaller things too. There's one thing that everybody says all together in church, and that's a little bit different here than I ever heard it in Florida. I don't know. There's like a bunch of little things, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But love it. Been here for 13 years. You've been here way longer, obviously. But yeah, we're happy to have you. We're gonna keep you here in Louisiana.
It looks like
Try.
I'm it's my longest job
stuck.
I've ever been. I've been here, but it's a good place.
Yeah,
It's a unique place. It's a good place to live, and I know people that have moved here and then moved on who say they miss it. And I agree. If I moved, I would miss it.
Yeah, I feel like you hear that a lot too. A lot of my guests who maybe are living out in LA now or just somewhere chasing their careers, chasing their dreams, they say that they love coming back home to visit.
Yeah, it's a nice place. The only thing I really miss is the fall in North Alabama with the colors.
Yeah.
Because we live in the mountains, the foothills of the Appalachians. She had very beautiful colors in the fall. I miss that, but
that is one thing that I wish we had here. I don't mind the warm climate, even though it gets humid and gets up to 110 degrees heat index in the summer. But fall foliage is what I wish I could experience. But maybe one day.
We see it a little bit in December for about a week, and that's it.
Yeah. If you blink, you'll miss it. All right, thanks, Heath. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Homegrown, getting to know Chief Meteorologist Heath Morton. Heath, unfortunately, we are about to have to wrap up, but we're ending on a little fun note.
Okay.
Not necessarily a game, but some fun facts about Heath Morton we need to know.
I have written a novel. I'll say that.
I forgot. Wait, that's a great fun fact.
I just remembered. Yeah, it's called Blackberry Winter. It's a murder mystery.
Yeah, which I love murder mysteries, and I know Britt LaFasso has read it, hasn't she?
Read it. She read it. She didn't figure out the killer. It's a murder mystery. I always wanted to write a book about weather. My initial idea was to write something where the killer was killed by weather, kind of. But he was killing during weather, so irony, that's cheesy. But I came up with this other idea after playing golf with my dad and my brother, and I drove 3 hours back to my apartment when I was living in Columbus, Georgia. The whole novel just unraveled in my head. I started writing a week later and wrote the whole thing in a year, and I haven't gotten it. I haven't tried to get it published. I want to, but it's if you like murder mysteries, that's what it's about. It's killing during severe weather. Go figure.
Yeah.
So I had to write.
Has to be some weather in there somewhere.
Right. But hopefully someday I can get that published. That's my goal.
How interesting. Okay, so Heath has written a novel. I also have some other, because I was putting, if you guys remember and watched the episode with Britt LaFasso, I played a little game with her where I listed like fun facts about people, but she had to guess who in the building the fact was about. I think the one that I gave her for you was that your childhood nickname was Smurf for some reason.
That was my nickname.
I never asked you why, though.
I had that nickname it was like 8th grade. I was a really small kid. I mean, little. So out on the playground.
Were you blue?
No, I wasn't blue.
Well.
I was just small. I was tiny.
Smurfs are small, I guess.
And so we were on the playground playing football, and I was 4th, 5th grade, and this kid called me Smurf, and it stuck. And it was like that. I never really thought it was a bad thing.
It could be worse.
It could be worse, and it's why a lot of people call me to 8th, 9th grade. So I didn't hit my growth spurt to 8th grade, but I was just a little kid. My brother was tall and I was small, and so that stuck with me for 8, 9 years, I guess.
We're gonna bring it back. I'm gonna make everybody here at Caleb why I call you Smurf.
My girlfriend was Smurfette. That's what they had to call it.
Of course,
sure she loved that.
It's only fitting. Yeah. Okay, another one before we have to go. Which one do I want to do? Oh, you've never seen The Man in the Moon?
No, I've never seen The Man. I mean, people say you see The Man. You've never seen it?
No, I like. What do you mean?
My wife says, "Are you crazy? Do you not see it?" I'll look at it. No, I don't see.
And I try really hard to see The Man in the Moon, and I just don't.
I don't either. There was this hardware or this store when I was a kid, a clothing store. They had these huge bins of clothes called hammers. And people would go through them. They'd stand over them. What I see is someone standing over in those bins, shopping for clothes. I don't know why, but as a kid, that's what I saw as a kid. So I see things differently than other people.
I don't really see anything. I just see like the spots
craters
on the moon, the craters on the moon. I don't know. I think maybe I need somebody to like show me a picture and like point it out for me and tell me, look, this is the man. Then maybe that would help. But yeah, I agree.
I'm glad someone else.
Yeah.
Because my wife thinks I'm nuts. That I've never seen. I just don't see that.
No, me either. That's okay. Okay, last fun fact, because we have time for it. You were a valet parker at Sandestin. When was that?
Right after I graduated high school, I moved to Destin, Florida, just for a summer job. And my uncle worked with this guy who knew a guy that worked there. It was valet parking, head of valet parking. So I went there, and I would park cars. And summer heat, they would bring it up. I would take it down, had to back it in. It didn't matter if it was storming. Didn't matter what was going on. I had to park their cars. I get a tip. I made like $130 on the 4th of July, and I thought I was rich, from tips. Back then, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I parked the famous Louisiana chef one time. His car, he came there. I can't remember his name. But he's no longer with us. But I parked his car one time. But he was that famous chef that had a TV show. And I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, it was a cool job.
Yeah, I bet. And I mean, it couldn't have been that bad living at the beach for the summer.
Yeah,
even though, you're working, but you're at the beach.
It was fun. Yeah. I did take someone's keys home with me accidentally one time, and I got written up for that. Like, they called me, said, hey, we can't find this person's keys. They were ready to go to dinner. And I'm like, uh-oh. They're still in my pocket. But it was a cool job.
Thinking you stole the car.
Yeah.
That would be something that I would do too. I'd be like, throw them in my pocket, go about my business.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
Exactly what I did. Yeah. You got to park some pretty cool cars though.
I bet. That had to be interesting. All right, some fun facts about Heath. Heath, thank you so much for joining us
for
this
having
episode of Homegrown.
I appreciate it.
It's been nice. You guys can rewatch this episode and more episodes of Homegrown on KLFI Plus.
Homegrown is sponsored by Restoral Dental, making the best dentures in Lafayette. Restoral Dental.